before we go to the car segment. For now, though, we're going to go back into the education space, and I'm really going to show my old age here, but back in my day, the use of study guides was limited. They were usually a kind of a quick fix that you would reach for when there was an essay deadline looming and you hadn't got around to reading the book. They tended to offer a quite thin sort of overview of a topic and just sketch out the bare bones, enough to help you scrape a pass, but not much more than that. For the rest, you had to hit the library with an actual pen and paper in hand and a lot of patience for combing through the shelves. And of course, all of that has changed. Fast forward to 2020, we're in the information age. Access to information is much more broadly available, and the availability of secondary resources can be a real game changer for students and scholars and for the people who are trying to teach them. For a teacher who's wanting to boost the arsenal beyond the textbooks that have been assigned, that's looking for a little bit of extra help, some extra reading, perhaps a clearer understanding and explanation of a particular topic, having access to study guides can be a real benefit to the kids in their class. But, and here's the big but, a printed anything is an expensive something. We know the cost of books. We know that getting books into rural areas, into far-flung schools can be a real challenge. And especially, it's a difficult ask for schools to invest in additional study material when the competing requirements for their budget are things like having basic working toilets and security and more. We know that that is the reality for many schools, which is why I was absolutely delighted to hear that one of this country's biggest publishers of study guides, the Answer series, has agreed to make digital versions of their guides available to all teachers at no cost. I said that again, all teachers in South Africa at no cost. How and why are they doing it, and how is this going to work, and how can they afford it, and how do schools access it if they don't have internet? So many questions to put to the CEO of the Answer series. George Eadie, it's great to have you on the show this afternoon. Welcome.
Hello, Pippa. I'm really excited to be here with you and your listeners. Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure. I know your company's been going all the way since 1975, George. You must have seen a lot of change over the years in the way information is made available. Obviously, going digital is the next big step, but it's a step that requires digital access. How are you going to make these study guides available to teachers when not all teachers have got easy access to the internet?
Yes, Pippa, the modern option now of being able to access information that was previously only available in books through the platform that Snaplify have created called Engage, which itself is a great news item. It's a free digital library for schools. This functionality has allowed publishers like ourselves, and I think we're the first one to really jump onto this optionality since it was only invented in their stable early last year in 2019.
Okay.
This allows all teachers to be able to access and project our study guides up into their classrooms, sort of reaching into a bit of a dream of ours, really, all the years to, we used to sit there and imagine what it would be like to have our study guides in every classroom, and now it's possible. Even with schools that don't have regular internet access, a study guide is a very low data packet, so they can be on a Wi-Fi network somewhere, anywhere that they can get a little bit of data and access, whether it's at their friend's house or whatever it might be, and for 4 or 5 megs, get access to South Africa's leading resource when it comes to study guides.
Okay, so that makes sense. So even if it means they've got to go into the nearest McDonald's and use the free Wi-Fi to download it, once they've got it, they can take it back into their classroom and use it there. George, I have to ask, as a business model for you, how does this work? Because most companies I know don't like giving away their core product for free. What's the big idea?
Yes, and I think it's a courageous step for us, but we were very inspired to do it. I mean, one of the things that I think, if my maths is correct, is that right, Pippa, that you also have a child navigating the high school career? Is that right? 2
of them now, I'm afraid, yes.
Wow. So, I mean, you'll have spoken to teachers recently, and, in some of the privileged schools, they're under a lot of pressure. But, I mean, in some of the less resourced schools, you've got teachers who have classroom sizes of over 50, often learners coming in with developmental deficits from prior years, sometimes even not having had breakfast.
Yeah.
Yet they come with the dreams of their future to those teachers, and those teachers are sitting there with that level of responsibility and overwhelm. And so we really are seeking this option now to have some of those teachers get access to this material from a purpose point of view, who otherwise wouldn't have got it anyway. So that's no loss to us. What the test is, and the courageous step from a business point of view, is that, if the learners and teachers find great value in it, then that inspires the motivation to find ways to afford this on a broader scale. And what we've seen is that, as a standard, we offer nonprofit organizations a substantial discount when purchasing from the Answer series. And we've got a history of government engagements where, we've been able to discount even more dramatically than that, all inspired by this idea of access. The Global Sustainable Development Goals are clear on this topic. It's, can we inspire inclusion, and can we inspire equitable quality? And I think that's what's driven us to the point of saying, you know what, we're going to put our product to the test. If it's valuable and the generosity is felt, it will be reciprocated in some form or another in the future.
Okay, so George, the big question is, how do teachers access it? If somebody is listening to this going, I've got a classroom of learners hungry for additional information of this kind, how do I find it? Where do they go to access this very generous offer?
So the first step is that they need to make sure that their school is registered on Engage. The website is engage.snaplify.com. It's free to register for your school. And once you've done that, you need to allocate a teacher user ID to the teachers in your school, and they will then automatically get access to the Answer Series ebooks.
Okay.
So it sounds a bit complicated, but really there's one step required, and that opens it up for not only you as a teacher, but your colleagues as well. So, once this starts gaining a bit of momentum, we're going to see that even though it might sound like a few steps to take, it's actually very simple.
Okay, George, and if I'm not mistaken, you cover the full high school years. Is that correct? It's solidly aimed at secondary level education.
That's correct. Grade 8 to grade 12. And we have 57 different study guides in English and 35 in Afrikaans, which really serves a great option for especially those dual language schools who need to try and find a comparable reference text for both subjects, where some pupils and some staff are English and some are Afrikaans. Those remain the languages of examination in South Africa, and that's really informed our two language choices. We hope that that's going to change in the future, but nevertheless, that's how it is for the moment.
Okay, you've answered the next question I was going to ask, which is what about Xhosa and other African languages, but you've made the point about the languages in which they will be examined in the subject. Okay, so let me just repeat that address. It's engage.snaplify.com, the platform you need to register your school on, and then be allocated your teacher user ID, opening up the door to that very generous offer of free access to all 57 in English and 35 in Afrikaans of those Answer Series study guides. George, I hope teachers embrace the opportunity. It's a very generous offer. Thank you for being so proactive, and I really hope that it is a boost to teachers all over the country, and that the long-term sort of plan for where it takes your brand is going to pay off for you as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. Bye-bye. Bye to your listeners. And good luck to the teachers out there.
They're going to need it, George, Eadie, and to the parents as well. And, of course, the pupils. George is CEO of the Answer Series. For more on their brand and the study guides that are available, etc., please check out www.theanswerseries.co.za.
Your brainwaves